In yesterday's episode, I was talking about slipping in kickboxing and Muay Thai. Is it something you should do? Is it safe? And if so, how do we go about executing it without getting knocked out when we drop our head into a kick? To follow up on that episode, we're going to use today to talk about a question somebody had, and that was, okay, that's great, Gabriel, but what about slipping with headgear on? What about sparring or fighting with headgear on? It seems to change everything. Today we're going to touch on what headgear does to all of that when you put it on. We are getting very close to the end of this giveaway. I'm going to be sending these gloves off to one lucky winner. These are Leone 12-ounce gloves that were made for glory. There's a link in the description below. Make sure you get registered so you have a chance to win these before the contest closes. Now from here, I want to move in straight away to talking about this thing. Many people want to wear headgear. They think headgear is going to keep them safer. Some people are so naive that they actually think putting headgear on means you can go and spar as hard as you want and you won't have any damage up here. No, that's not true. First of all, before we get into discussing exactly how this impacts your slipping, let's talk about the reality of headgear. And that is, you're gonna get hit more. It's just a fact. Your head is bigger, you don't see as much. It's just natural that you are gonna get tagged a little bit more. And because of that, you have to make a very informed and smart decision on whether this is gonna be correct for you. If I'm boxing, I wear my headgear. Why do I wear my headgear? Because I want to avoid cuts and I want to avoid my nose getting smashed. Now this headgear in particular would not help my nose too much, but the one I usually wear has a bar across it. So my nose doesn't get hit too much and hopefully won't be too crooked. But most important, if somebody accidentally they try to throw a hook and they miss and they hit you with an elbow or heads clash, this is going to save you from potential cuts and just damage to your face, but it's not going to protect your brain in the way many people think. So let's go through this question that was sent to me, and somebody says, my head feels like it's 3 times bigger. I hate it. Yes, that's very possible that your head is going to feel that much bigger. Obviously it's not 3 times bigger, but all of a sudden when you put your gloves up and they're not flat to your head, they're out here, it is going to make it feel that much bigger. When your head feels that much bigger, slipping is going to be that much harder, because a normal slip, especially if you keep your hands up, you just have to get to about there. That's enough. But all of a sudden, if your hands are out that far and you go to slip, you could end up still taking impact. It's very important to understand the difference in how big your head is. And potentially, there's an argument that over-slipping in shots, like having to slip that much extra with your headgear on, is going to actually be beneficial, because when you take it off eventually, it's going to be that much easier. But you're going to have to make sure you train with it and then without it, so you understand what that difference is. In addition, he also says he hates how the materials don't slide when touching one another. So what he means by that is when a glove makes contact to your head, especially if you have Vaseline or sweat, it's somewhat going to slide off you. It's not going to hit and stick. But with a headgear, especially if it's dry and it's leather on leather, if a shot just kind of glazes by, it might actually catch and still sort of drag your head, because it's got that extra, I don't know, friction or connection between materials. So it's much harder to be rolling with shots and doing lots of slipping when all of a sudden you slip, a shot catches you, it kind of pulls you out of position, and then the next shot comes and lands flush. So I guess really the question is, should you be wearing it? And if so, what adjustments are you going to make? Well, number one, if I'm doing my boxing, as I said, I have the bar across the front, and I will wear it in boxing. When I do kickboxing or Muay Thai or MMA, I don't wear it, because I feel like, number one, there's less chance of head clashing and mistakes. That might sound odd, but there's a little bit more distance as opposed to in tight. I find it's on the in tight combos with boxing that heads accidentally clash, so I don't feel like I need it. In addition, I find that with all the shots coming at such different angles, we're looking at legs and kicks coming up to the head, I find it much harder to see. When it's just boxing and I'm just looking at this level, I can just sort of lock in there. I don't have to worry about, okay, the legs are a little hard to see right now, or if I end up getting my head kind of shifted for a slip, I'm not able to see everything. I want to see the entire body. And if this is not going to allow me to do it, then I'm not going to put it on. But if you do happen to like sparring with headgear, I would highly suggest you have somebody throw at you with the headgear on and you learn, okay, that's what I have to do. That's how much more I have to slip. I would suggest that you throw some Vaseline on the exterior of your headgear so things are not catching you and dragging your head to the side. And if you can do those little things and recognize, most importantly, that if you are going to be competing as an amateur and you have to wear headgear in that amateur fight, you should be training with headgear on. You need to get used to the comfort level. You need to get used to the struggles that come with headgear. And most importantly, you want to feel prepared when you step in the ring. Of all my fights, all the fights I've had one. I think it was my 8th fight where I had to wear headgear. I really didn't want to, but my opponent wouldn't fight without it. So we put the headgear on and I did my pad work sessions with it. I did my sparring with it. I had it on so that when I actually got in the ring, I would be so comfortable and not frustrated and aggravated with this thing on my head. So those are my thoughts on trying to slip and spar with headgear. Do the same thing as always, but just make sure you understand that yes, you have to move your head a little bit further, and yes, it can be more frustrating, but there is a time and a place for headgear, even though it's not gonna help protect your brain in the way people think. Let's call it to everybody. Thanks for joining today. I will see you back here soon for another video.